Hey guys, welcome. Happy Thursday. Is it Thursday? I think it's Thursday. It could be Thursday, it could be another day. I'm not really sure. So, welcome. We are going to jump on and talk about the IEP process. You guys can share this video or this live with up to 15 people. I'm not smart enough to know what that is, but you guys are. So go ahead and send that out. We're going to go over the 8 steps for the IEP process, and then we're going to open it up for rapid fire, which you guys are really good at the rapid fire, the Q&A at the end, so we can get your questions answered as it relates to special education in the IEP process. Hi, guys. Yes. Hi. Hello. Yes. Is it cold where you are? I live in Texas, and for some reason it's 30 degrees, which is we did not agree to that at all. I can tell you that for sure. So we are going to jump on. Hey, guys. You guys are so funny. Yes, we've had a great back to the school year start, but there's just some foundational pieces that parents are being not misinformed. I would hate to say misinformed. That assumes that like somebody's doing it on purpose, but informed incorrectly. I had a family the other day that asked for an evaluation, and they sent home a notice of a dyslexia screener. Screens go on windows. We didn't ask for a screen. We asked for an evaluation. 12 degrees. Oh, God bless you. So I think sometimes so many families are so desperate for help that they go in there ready to get what they need for their kiddo. And it's been such a long battle that when they get anything, they're over the top excited. We're not going to be excited that we got anything. We're just not. We're going to be expectant that we get our kiddo the evaluations that they need so we can properly serve them. Minus 17. Oh my Lord. When it's 50, I think it's like the state of Texas should be closed. So we're going to go over the IEP process, and it has a very specific process that is set up to make sure that your kiddos are successful in school. If we haven't met, I'm Mayer Cunningham, special education boss, helping families and individuals that sit at the 504 IEP tables negotiate successful student outcomes. So if you have questions for us, if there's anything that you can do through the anything that you guys need afterwards, we have in-person trainings. They are, first day is for advocating for somebody, and the second day is to be an advocate for a living. There are 7 million, say it with me, 7 million children currently in America have an IEP. I don't know how many gazillion children have a 504, but we don't have enough education or training to our amazing teachers. God bless teachers. And so we want to provide you that training here. We want to provide you a community because we just sit at the same table. We're all on the same side. We're on the same side of the kiddo. And so we want to provide you that training. We also have the Academy, which is a private monthly membership. We have 2-hour live coaching calls once a week based on the federal law and state statutes and application so that your kiddos can be successful. And it probably 2/3 of the members in the Academy are school-based members. So it has been excited. So let's get right down to it, the IEP process. So when did you notice something was different? Like when did you notice, mom and dad, that something was different? And that phase is called recognition. And I think that we miss this phase of recognition that there's something different with our kiddo. Certainly it's been blurred a little bit with the pandemic and going remote and all of those things. But don't get lumped into, oh, that's boys, he's little, that's expected. His cousin did that. If there's something different, there's something off, if your kiddo's struggling, don't just negate that. And so work with the school to see if you can partner with them to do some sort of intervention, right? RTI, response to intervention, some sort of maybe pull out. Here's what you don't do. Don't do this. Everybody listening? Are you listening? Stop getting your elementary school kids tutored. Stop doing that. You are skewing the data. If your kid is 7 and they need a tutor, they probably need special education or 504. When you go out and skew the data like that, it's a problem, right? And we want the schools to educate our children as it relates to academics, behavior, sociological, communicative, all of those pieces, because that's what they're trained to do. We don't take little kids to tutoring, right? It's like watering concrete. There's no data that says, hey, a little kiddo goes to school all day long, and then we're going to send them to a tutor at night. So if you want them to be some sort of professional athlete or in the Olympics, then that might be something you need a tutor for, but stop skewing the data, okay? So when did you notice something was different? And then how do we respond to the need? We have got to respond to the need. God bless teachers. They are out there with their Superman capes on doing it. Really, please make sure you get your teachers a nice gift, not an apple candle. They don't want the apple candle. Get them a real gift. But teachers have a room full of children, right? They have 22 other little cherubs that need stuff, whether they've been identified or not, that may have disabilities and may have a 504. So it may be hard to see what your kiddo needs. So you make sure that you're providing that information. So getting your child tested to identify disability. This is not, there's no scarlet letter. There's no shame with this. Nobody did anything wrong. Your kids aren't broken. This is how I describe special education. My boys, one is a professional athlete. The other one's going to be a professional athlete so they can pay for all my plastic surgery. So they've always had private coaches. Nobody would say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're getting your boys a private coach. And so that's the way I see special ed. It's coaching above what we're going to get in general ed, right? And so that's good, right? They need something special. They need something above what the general ed teacher needs. It's not a shame. There's nothing to be ashamed of, right? If your kiddo's GT, that's special ed. It's something different than the general ed teacher needs. So we want to refer them to identify them if there is a need, right? And so when we refer them, we make it very simple. And I know lots of our friends have this very long, complicated legal form that they send to the school district. Come now, heareth, saith. All that's not necessary. You don't need to write that full federal letter about the IDEA. It's very simple. Hey, this is my formal request for Billy Smith to have testing for special education. Areas of suspected disability are learning issues and attention. We look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. That's it. That's it. It's not more complicated than that. That starts a 15-day timeline. Talking to somebody in the car rider line or the pumpkin patch, not a written request. So make sure that you do it formally so that they have the documentation. So within 15 days, the school will respond and say, absolutely, that sounds fantastic, or no, we are denying your request, right? So when you're asking for an evaluation, make sure that you know that the F stands for full. The F stands for full. I have a kiddo, a lady in the academy. She just got her evaluation back. It was 6 pages long, 6 pages long. Have a new family. They just got their evaluation back. It was 17 pages long. Seriously, people. Seriously. So the F stands for full. Write that down. The F stands for full. So the reason it's full, and we do it in all areas, is so we have a baseline, right? The FIIE, the full initial individualized evaluation, right? And so you want to make sure that you're identifying the impact of the child's disability, right? So testing is really good because it does one of two things. It identifies or it eliminates. Write that down. Testing identifies or it eliminates. And we want to know. We want to know what's going on, and we want to eliminate what's not going on. Why? So we can properly serve the student based on their unique needs. And one of 3 things is going to happen, right? After the testing, one of 3 things. Outcome 1, your child does not have a disability that impacts him to a level that he needs additional support at school. So write that down. Outcome 1, your child does not have a disability that impacts him at school that rises to the level of extra support. Awesome. Now we know what we didn't know, right? Outcome 2, your child does have a disability that needs additional support at school that can be served by a 504. And then outcome 3 is your child does have a disability that needs additional support at the school with an IEP, an individualized education program, right? And any of those 3 things are fine because you didn't know what you didn't know, right? So you want to develop a complete IEP, a complete IEP. I would say, and not that I know everything, but I know a little bit about special ed. I do about 500 IEP meetings a year besides filings, resolutions, mediation, that sort of thing. That a complete IEP is pristine and it's prescriptive. It's pristine and it's prescriptive. So no matter who picks it up, any of us picked it up, we're all doing the same thing. We are all doing the same thing. Billy will do better in 36 instructional weeks. not pristine, certainly not prescriptive. So we want to know how the student's disability impacts him across settings, across content areas, at minimum from bell to bell, at maximum maybe from driveway to driveway. Maybe he needs even some support on a special education school bus. So we want to make sure that the program is robust, right? And so I kind of tease it down to the 5 pillars. There's many more components. So let's talk about those, the 5 pillars. So number 1, present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. Or as this lady told me the other day in Dallas, in Texas, we just call it the PLAF. But she must have been from England because she was like, the PLAF. The PLAF. I was like, oh, okay, we just say PLAF here in Texas. But whatever you want to call it, the present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. What does that mean? That means I'm going to identify the student's unique needs, his critical areas of needs, his strengths, his needs, and I'm going to write it in a way that it will how much services that kiddo is going to need, right? And so we do that. Present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. Cindy is a sweet child. I have no idea what that means. Billy is a bright student. Are all the other children not bright? He is a joy to work with. I don't know what that means. And I appreciate that people write that down. It doesn't help me in writing successful IEP goals, functionally, behaviorally, academic, sociological, emotional, counseling, or communicative. So we need to make sure that we give information in the IEP that's not biased and is not measurable, right? So pillar number 2 are going to be annual goals. Annual goals are not necessarily academic goals. I think people get stuck on that, especially when we talk about evaluations and we just say, hey, you don't need an evaluation. You know why? Because Cindy has not been to the office. Going to the office is not the reason for a referral for special education testing, right? So it might be one of the reasons, but it's not the reason to do it or not to do it. So annual goals are academic, they're emotional, they are behavioral, they're social skills, they're functional, they are related to, they are an instructional and or related service, whether it's standalone or added on to another goal. They're communicative. There are many types of goals other than just academic goals, right? Number 3, pillar 3 are needed accommodations. And accommodations are simply something additional that without this accommodation, we know that said student is not going to be successful on their IEP goals. They're just not. And so we need that in play. Please make sure that you don't have 804,029,600 minutes, that you don't have 5 million accommodations, because that's a problem with the Office of Civil Rights, the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights. I would respectfully say that I don't know many kiddos that would need more than 10 accommodations. You have to say as a teacher, did I stand up and give all 28 of these accommodations in math before I said, good morning, right? Some of them are replicated. Some of them are assumptive. Some of them are just in case. We don't do that. The entire IEP is based on data. It's not based on fear or just in case he needs it. It's based on data, right? Pillar number 4, where do I implement the student's program? We call that LRE, least restrictive environment. We educate students with disabilities to the maximum extent possible with their non-disabled peers with strategies and supports. And if that doesn't work, we make adjustments. The state would probably say an appropriate measure of time to look at that model. It's successful as a grading period, so 6 to 9 weeks. But we don't just put them in there for 3 or 4 days and go, it was a bust. No. We make adjustments, right? So, yes, data, not feelings. Feelings have no intellect. Your feelings have no intellect. They don't. And they come and go. So we educate based on data. So where is the most appropriate place to implement the student's program to work on these IEP goals across content areas? It is not a one or done. It's not you go to this setting or you go to that setting. So I have kiddos that are in general ed and in resource and in a life skills setting in their instructional day. So you look at it across content areas. And then number 5, students required special education support time, SOS, schedule of services, save our student, determination of services, a service delivery page, whatever it is that you call it in your state. So what are those support minutes as it relates to special education? Everybody's software is different. There's no requirement to list the entire instructional day. But most software will just populate the areas where the student has a need for special education. And that's done annually at maximum. And so, at minimum. And then if you need IEP meetings in between them, you can have them. Certainly there are many things that we could just have, a teacher meeting about. But if you're going to change the components of the IEP document, the only requirement to sit down at an IEP meeting and convene an IEP meeting is when you have a change or consideration for a change in eligibility and or consideration for change in minutes. So eligibility or minutes. Any of those other parts, it's certainly legal to have a paper amendment, a paper IEP, but depending on who your leader is, it might be a little bit different, okay? And then partnering with the school for appropriate implementation of FAPE. So one of the questions I get is, how do you know that it's happening? Well, that's a good question. So we know that it's happening because the student's making expected progress, right? The expected rate of progress, not perfect, but based on the IEP that we built, there's an anticipated measure of growth as it's laid out in the objectives and benchmarks. So every grading period, you'll get your student's report card, of course. And then additionally, you will get a piece of paper that says, hey, here's the percentages that a student was successful on their IEP goals. Should have some comments. The comment shouldn't be, we haven't started this goal yet. That's not the right comment, right? So you should be able to measure when you receive those two pieces together, is he making expected progress, right? So when you get that, make sure that you get out your IEP document. If Billy has a math goal and then in 36 instructional weeks, he's supposed to be at 70% on this goal, you get your IEP progress report back after 1 quarter, 25% of the year, and he's at 10%. Well, I'm really not good with math. I only know tall, grande, and bente. However, it's not likely that he's going to make that expected progress on that goal. Additionally, if you get it at the end of one grading period and he's at 60%, he's going to blow past that. So make sure that you make those adjustments, and you can do that by a paper amendment, right? Also, I would ask the school, how do you need raw data collection sheets? We have those on the academy. A lot of schools don't provide them to teachers. Usually in the software that a school district uses or a county, there should be blank IEP data collection sheets, but they're required to collect data. Does all the data have to be written down on a piece of paper? No, but some of the data has to be written down on a piece of paper so that we can photocopy it, right? And then time to, and I would just ask the teacher, what can I do to serve you? I have my parents bring what I call a ZAC pack at the beginning of the year. What does that mean? I have my parents do a 4x6 picture of their kiddo, and then just sort of write a detailed narrative of how amazing he is, what he's working on, what he'll work for, his strengths and his needs, so that it's in a small, condensed way that a teacher can really understand what a kiddo's needs are. Does the teacher get a teacher bundle with your student's IEP? They do. Do they have time to read and memorize all of them and read and memorize all of their FIEs? That's unlikely. So when you can provide that to them, it's really going to be beneficial and helpful. And then last, but certainly not least, is time to reassess your child. It's probably one of the biggest missteps that I see by families is that we don't reassess properly. We've got to properly reassess our kiddos with disabilities. Otherwise, we're just guessing. We don't need to redo every single test, but we certainly need to make sure that we are looking at those areas of need, right? Do we need to do new testing to see if he's still eligible for special education and in need of related and instructional services? Does he need new related and instructional services? And is the program we're delivering serving him based on his unique needs of his disabilities? And that's sort of a general overview of it, but we have got to partner with the school. Schools have to partner with parents. It's not a us and them. Nobody knows more about the parent, the student, than the parents. The federal government actually says they're the expert. So it's really important that we partner together so that we can have successful student outcomes, because this is about your child being successful as an adult, right? Gainful employment, independent living, and further education. Those are the 3 thresholds of the federal law as it relates to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So remember that when we get in, for lack of a better word, in the thick of it with people, that we're talking about their adult years, right? And they're not going to evaporate at 18. I don't think they evaporate at 18. And so this is setting them up for success as adults. So We get a lot of questions about that. So people ask me, what are the requirements for being an advocate for a living? There are no requirements to be an advocate. You don't have to have a certain college degree. You don't have to have a certain certification. Certainly it would be great if you like children. And if you like sitting in meetings. I think the average lifespan of an advocate is about 6 months. It's difficult being an advocate. It's unbelievably rewarding, but it's difficult. And so if that's something that you're interested, you can always shoot us an email at admin@specialeducationacademy.com. Our next in-person class is, when is it? February 4th and 5th. We just had one this week, and there were somebody from Washington State, it's in Houston, and then somebody from Pennsylvania, and I think those touch water. I can't be sure, but it's really exciting, and almost always more than half of the class are school-based members, so it was fantastic. So I'm going to answer some questions here. Let's see. How do you know if a school has a good special education program? You ask other mamas. You can't ask your realtor because that's against the law. And again, make sure that it's a good special education program based on your child's needs, right? Not every school district does every kind of special ed right, but almost always they do some sort of component of special education right. Can a parent hire an advocate? A parent can hire an advocate, absolutely. Do schools have to keep raw data collection sheets with the IEP? No, but there should be some sort of raw data in your students' open records. So if you need a sheet on how to file for open records as it relates to your students' cumulative folder, we can provide you that. Just email us at admin@specialeducationacademy.com. Do you think testing should be allowed to be waived during a triennial? We don't waive testing. County denied comp reeval for student going homebound, SLD, emergency brain surgery, cannot walk and talk. I'm so sorry. You have right to have input and set expectations, of course, and you should if you need a second opinion. Does the PLAF have to be on initial assessments? So the PLAF is in the IEP paperwork. So anytime you have an IEP document, it should have present levels. Formally requested IEP 504 testing, and the school says they are short-staffed and can't do it right now. I would get that response in writing. And say, we certainly understand that. We still want testing. And I would, if they say that they're short-staffed, I would ask them to pay for an IEE. You can bring advocates always. Advice going into initial IEP, ADHD, dyslexia, anxiety. So my advice is always the same. Centered on the student. Write down all of your questions ahead of time. Have a printed copy of your previous documentation and go through all of your questions. If you don't get done, then reconvene. How can I attend the class if I'm not local to you? So certainly we have people come in from all over the nation, but we will be having a digital product probably by mid-February. I'm a nurse in Texas wanting to quit nursing to become an advocate. Come on. Where do we find the curriculum that the school uses? Admin can let you know what kind of curriculum they use. Does IEP only mean special education classes? No, special education is a service. It is not a location. Do you think 2 hours is an excessive length for an ARD meeting? No, I mean, it depends on what you were talking about. I'm happy to be at an IEP ARD meeting as long as it's an efficient use of everybody's time. And my first IEP, they wanted full-time ABA, wouldn't change it, so that's how they do it. I'm so tired of crying after a phone call with one of my ESE teachers. I'm so sorry. Granddaughter, 9th grade, needs evaluation file for dyslexia. School didn't do it. She has to pay $5,000. I'm so sorry. An IEP is a month overdue. School says it's okay. What can I do? I would get that in writing. That's not okay. Thank you. I work for New York's NYC, and they can. I hate it. I don't think it should be allowed. My daughter's speech therapist said her caseload was too full to make up missed sessions. Then they can pay for it privately. Again, I would get all that in writing. I'm supposed to get the results Monday. When does the 30-day window begin? The 30-day window begins on the date the IEP evaluation is concluded. Hey, please mention again about advocate information. Sure. So if you're interested in being an advocate and having one of our in-person classes, or the digital product or online training, just email us at admin@specialeducationacademy.com. The next one is Friday, February 4th and Saturday, February 5th in Houston. I have a middle and high school students that haven't been retested since elementary. The school claims they doesn't have my daughter's medical evaluations from the elementary school. Sorry. I feel that our school system has pushed my SPED student through to high school, doing minimum to improve. I'm sorry. She has been in middle school for 2 years. What's the difference between an IEE and an IEP? An IEE is an independent educational evaluation. That is at the request of the parent to the school district when you disagree with their findings. An IEP is an individualized education plan. Being the interpreter as a team member, they are with the student all day and they know their growth. Yes, thank you. Ours is 8 hours usually. Oh, Lord, 8 hours. I'd have to have some snacks. Former SPED teacher myself, there are some rough practices. Advocates are so needed. I have had 2-hour IEPs and 9-hour IEPs. Does medical diagnosis, dyslexia, and dysgraphia help move an IEP along faster? I would love to say yes. My experience would be no. It doesn't hurt. County denied comp reevaluation for student going homebound. Yes, I'm so sorry. Depends on team and how. Thank you. Is it okay for me to reject putting my daughter in a smaller class and requesting they give her an aid? Yeah, I mean, you can always request anything. I'm not a big proponent of aids. It sets up learn dependency, and it turns into a classroom within a classroom. I'm certainly amenable to that for a brief period of time. But if a student needs a one-on-one aid, I consider that if they need medical care, nursing care, and or they're a danger to themselves or others. However, every situation is unique. How can we find an advocate in our area? So I don't know where your area is, but your state probably has a list of advocates and or attorneys. You could look at COPA, or you can just reach out to us. Can a school redo an FBA because you don't agree? I got approved for an IE, but can't find anyone. So a school can redo any sort of testing as long as they have your consent. My son was belittled and embarrassed in class yesterday and today by a new teacher for him. It's terrible. Hey, Susie. Thank you, honey. What to do when an IE is biased. Karate chop the IE person. No, I'm just kidding. That's tough. I've had those before. Our elementary has no tutoring or extra help. How is this possible? Indiana needs help. I wouldn't disagree. Article 7, Indiana, God bless them. He has an IEP and ADHD and learning disabilities, and his twin sister was in class. I've seen this. So sorry. How often should a student be reevaluated? That just depends on the student's need, but you can have them reevaluated as often as annually. I teach a discipline class. The juvenile judge sends us kids without considering their special ed needs. Tough. 3 years by law, sooner if there's good reason or parent request. Yes, that's right, Amy. Our elementary has no tutoring. What is an AEA? My son has an IEP for speech, but I am trying to get him evaluated academically. So we get him evaluated for educational needs. So we don't get him evaluation for academic needs. Make sure that you're being tested for an educational need so that you do that in all areas. And I would just send them an email and say, this is my formal request for my student to have a full evaluation in all areas of suspected disability to include learning issues and attention. I feel I'm paving a new path with my son's IEP. He has SADS heart condition and ADHD behavioral. Thank you. ADHD as an OHI is being denied because the psychologist said it's across all areas. What? Or it isn't across the areas. I tried to speak with the principal and was told to talk to the teacher. My son is scared to go to class. I would file a complaint. Hello, guys. I don't even know where to start. My school has been less than understanding. I hear you. What does the school psychologist do? So in Texas, we have LSSPs, licensed specialists in school psychology. Some states have social workers. They have LPCs. They provide that emotional behavioral component, right? Whether it's counseling as a related service, behavioral needs, and certainly that testing that kiddos need for a full evaluation. What do you add to an IEP to ensure students are being served when schools are virtual? So there's the problem. So the only kids that are penalized virtually are kiddos with an IEP. So for my kiddos with an IEP, I do not agree to a school's contingency plan. OSEP, U.S. Department of Education, gave no reduction of services as it relates to virtual school, although most of you have agreed to a contingency plan, which agrees to a reduction. So that's why I do not agree to a contingency plan. What state are you in? I'm in this great state of Texas. I've had many teachers complain about IEP meetings to my face, and I'm afraid to ask them now. Don't be afraid. Go in there and fight for your kiddo. I have a student that should be in SPED, but have been told that they have to go through many tiers. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's ridiculous what we misinform our wonderful teachers. Oh, thanks, Raven. My middle and high school students never got retested after elementary. That's disgusting and not surprising. Sorry, can my daughter's teachers use recess time to... No. Recess is a state requirement in every state. So, no. What to do when the teachers just give your child's passing grades because he has an IEP? I don't know what to do with that. The problem is, I don't know that teachers are just giving kids passing grades. There's so much pressure on teachers for them to pass. Probably in the last 4 years, I know other advocates have seen it. Nobody fails anymore. Nobody even gets a C anymore. We are all on the honor roll. So, and I know that's the pressure that's being put on teachers from admin. It is unfortunate. Thank you. Y'all are so nice. Never be afraid. You're your child's advocate. Yeah. Can one be an advocate and a full-time special needs teacher? I don't know, Amy. Email us and we'll lure you out. Yeah. So I would imagine that you couldn't be an advocate and a full-time teacher in your district or county. But I think that you certainly could be an advocate if you did straight records review. After IEP for ASD and ADHD, someone's placed in special ed and now hates school. Should I bring up to the school? That's kind of a loaded question. I don't know how old your kiddo is. Is it that they hate the program or they've been removed from their classmates? It's tough when our kids are older, but we educate our kiddos based on what they need, not what they want. So I'm sorry that he hates it. And my daughter's 504. They told me percentage of homework would be cut. Now it's not. Now I would remind them back in an email. SPED teacher from Keller. Keller in the house. Let's all take a moment and pray. Dear Keller, let's get it together. Amen. Thank you guys for all the SPED teachers. Child can't complete work in time to earn credits due to short-term memory. Extra time is given. Help. Yeah, here's the thing. If you can't complete work in time due to short-term memory, don't give them extra time. Reduce their work, right? My son is severely speech delayed and the school says 30 minutes one time a week is good. How is that beneficial? So when you're looking at an educational model, more is not the model. So there's the educational model, the therapeutic model, and the medical model. They usually don't play well together. But 1 or 2 times in elementary school, I would say is an appropriate model. You have to remember that every time a child's out of class, that they're missing something, right? So we're always looking at 2 things in special education: meaningful benefit and harmful effect. So it's kind of hard to juggle that. So sorry. Adding, I'm in Texas, so what should I request for him since he is hating the SPED class and teacher? I don't know. That's a loaded question somewhere. I don't know the whole context of it, but I certainly would sit down with the Zoom, with the English, Karen, speak English, with the administrator and see what you can do. Thank you. Can you rescind agreement to contingency plan? Absolutely. Just like you can rescind being married to your first husband. I'm just kidding. Am I? No. How long is it appropriate to wait for approved assistive technology? I wouldn't wait long. Thank you. I'm glad they're helping. They want to retain my grandson in kindergarten. IEP will help us. So retention is a very sticky conversation. But certainly if I'm advocating for a family and they want retention, Kindergarten, I would support that because if you don't have all the pieces, you don't have all the pieces. Oh, thank you. We love teachers. God bless teachers. If it wasn't for teachers, my oldest wouldn't be potty trained, and he's a grown man now. So, are you a teacher? I am a teacher of the masses, but no, I am not a certified school teacher. What she's doing, so what can I do about it? She's already been evaluated. How do I encourage co-teaching instead of full pullout? So that's a staffing issue, unfortunately. Many teachers don't want to go to an IEP meeting if a student fails. Facts, I don't agree with it, but truth, I know. Sorry, how would you do a formal evaluation to have an updated, how often would you do a formal evaluation to have updated based on, it just depends on what areas, right? If a kiddo has an SLD, I'm certainly going to ask for a formal achievement annually. I just am. I would love to be an advocate. Well, come on. Just email us at admin@specialeducationacademy.com. He's 8. He was removed from classmates and teacher. Oh, I'm so sorry. So sorry. My son had testing the last 2 days and is now falling behind the classes he missed. Can you be hired as an advocate? I can be hired as an advocate. Just email admin@specialeducationacademy. I've got clients all over the globe. What happens when you ask for an ACC reevaluation and they not responded? Timeline. So we do everything in writing, and it starts a timeline. So there's a federal timeline, and I remind them gently by email, this is my second request that has not been responded to. This is my third request, and you just document it. Go to the school and advocate that's not legal to take away recess. Yes, you can't take away recess from anybody, period. I've asked the teacher and therapist to stop making her work during recess. So we don't ask, we put it in writing. As an advocate, how much do you charge? So advocates, their fees range. And so I have a range for advocating, and then I have a fee for advocating, and then I have a fee for representation. I'm in 1 of 10 states where I'm allowed to interpret state and federal special education law without being a litigator. And I do that. So I just finished, I don't know, this fall, because I'm crazy, 8 due processes. So that's a much higher rate. So if I'm doing a mediation with you, an informal resolution session with you, maybe the school district attorney and the district level, that's a specific charge. But advocates charge anywhere from, I don't know, $25 an hour to $300 an hour. The other day, the SPED teacher told stepson he scored so good he doesn't need to be in speech anymore. Oh, my Lord. Son is delayed in language, expressive language. I feel like he needs things read to him. They won't. My situation is that I'm a teacher in the building where my kiddo has an IEP and I have expectations. Yes, and I just got off prepping a client in Florida for tomorrow. Let's hear it for Florida. And it's my experience. I have a lot of clients that are school-based members. They work at the school district, and unfortunately, they usually get treated a lot worse. Washington's in the house. Hey. Well, you're awesome too. Thank you. Fort Worth ISD has failed my child and disappointed me, pulled out to homeschool. I'm so sorry. Let's see. South Carolina State Department considers reduce work a modification and won't allow them to earn a diploma. So reduction of work up to 50% is a legal OCR accommodation. Reevaluation is the norm at our middle school. Retesting only occurs when parents bring an advocate. Did y'all hear that? Is House Bill 1697 still in effect this year? My son is in first grade, and I feel he needs to be restrained. Sorry. He does not need to be restrained. I feel he needs to be retained. You know, Sherry, I'd really consider the impact of retaining a first grader. I had a kiddo one time, other than kindergarten, retained, but he was in downtown Texas Children's. He'd missed 89 days because of seizures. But again, it's a very personal decision. It's not my decision. You know, my job as an advocate is to provide the committee and my parents the totality of information that I believe that they all need to make an informed decision. Oh, thanks for your help. Thank you. Should schools be testing kids' should schools be testing kids too? Our school claims they don't. Shouldn't schools have data too? They should have data. The school therapist just approved her being dyslexic. They have yet to send findings. So, If they're reporting findings, I want a copy of that evaluation. Write a letter to the principals. Exactly. Diagnostician here. Everything you said. Yes. Great advice. Thank you, Cat Mom. My favorite thing is to pretend to be a diagnostician at night, late at night. ASD and PTSD transition plan tips. So depending on where you are, transition starts, federally at 16, and most states it starts around 14. So I just did this on a training the other day. The Oregon Transition Resource Handbook, best national resource handbook. Get that Oregon Transition Resource Handbook. You can just Google it. It's gangsta. I've been waiting 4 months for an FBA to be completed. Nope, it takes a few weeks to do an FBA. Intervener here. God bless intervene. I just got an intervener for one of my kiddos. Thank you. Can I do your training virtually? You can. We are going to have a digital product available by mid-February, because for some reason you guys can't all get in your car and drive to Houston. I don't know why. You're great. Thanks for the content. Oh, thank you. You're absolutely right. Due process complaint. Is your next class full? My next class is not full, February 4th and 5th. How long does it take to become an advocate? Today, it would probably take you 90 days to become a full-time advocate. 7 million children in America have an IEP. I live in a tiny city called Houston, where 7 million people live in greater Houston. There's probably 2 or 3 advocates here, and I'm one of them. So if we had 5 million advocates tomorrow, we wouldn't have enough. I'm a teacher. Why does it take so long, 6 to 8 weeks, just to bring a child up? We were concerned about that. I don't know. Is the 15 days from written request federal law? It is federal law. 25 years special education sped educator, recently retired, have a 32-year-old special needs son. Well, come join us. We would love to have you be an advocate. It should not take months to get help. It should not. Yes, always have a paper trail. We have a school refusal issue, and no one has ever been out to observe in the mornings for the FBA. You just got to document. And if you need to, write a state written complaint. Fix stuff before you end up in due process. Amen to that. School cuts down workload, but child is still behind and mentally slow to finish and comprehend. Yeah, we got to give the kiddo the right product and in the right setting. Sped teacher here and had my son's first IEP today. Eye-opening to be the parent now. It is. When teachers and principals aren't willing to communicate to get the ball rolling with services, you got to get the ball rolling, right? Let's see. Should I contact the superintendent and school board members? It's not my experience that contacting the school board members does any good. Colorado needs a visit. Sped teacher here, miserable teaching, but I love my kids so much. Thank you for serving those kiddos. I'm a sped teacher in the same district as my son, and I have to watch my P's and Q's when advocating. Yeah, they're like, take it down a notch, right? One of my sped teachers that I advocate for, one of the assistant directors came into her class and said, I need you to stay in your lane, because when people get out of their lane, people get hurt. Wow, that sounds like a threat. I am in Texas. There are time limits when kids are referred for special education. However, it depends on the state. School won't use Oregon assessment. So when you say Oregon assessment, are you talking about the Oregon project as it relates to VI? As a high school teacher, I see so many students that fall through the cracks and don't have services. I know. Can you get OT, PT, speech with school district, and homeschool? That's a tough question. There's no legal federal requirement for school districts to provide you related instructional services if your student's not enrolled in the school. However, almost all school districts would provide speech, but the other services are really, kind of contingent on what district that you're in. Let's see. When I ask, they tell me they're working on it. I would get that in writing. Our school has now decided it's not equitable for kids to be pulled out from classes for best advice for school board members, stand up and represent your school district. Really, your school board members. Let parents have, a say and listen to them. Don't say it's on the agenda. I love Houston. Let's see. Does ASD have to be diagnosed by a medical doctor or is a school psychologist sufficient? Yes. So ASD is not an OHI. So another health impairment is a student with a disability that is acute, expected to impact them for a lifetime, and is verified by a medical doctor and may be treated with medicine. So yeah, so you wouldn't need that for ASD. Evaluation indicates recommended service amounts without an IEP meeting. Aren't parents part of the team? They are part of the team. Can advocates work from home? Yep, I work from home. I haven't left my home since March 13th, 2020. And their pay and workload equal to a classroom teacher. So I don't know what classroom teachers make. Their workload is tremendous, but it's unbelievably rewarding. And so you can charge Katybug whatever the market allows, and I would assume that's based on your expertise and years of doing it. Let's see. Can you speak to using an open records request to helping parents? Sure. So you don't know what you don't know. So I often ask to pull an open records request when I'm going to file, or so I can see where the missteps are, right? Sometimes I can pull open records and go, oh, he's been reading on first grade level for 5 years. That's a problem. I just logged on. Where do I find info to sign up for the course online? Just send us an email at admin at specialeducationacademy.com. I cannot hear the content while looking at your hair. Then cover your eye. Don't look at my hair. Thank you for all your hard work and knowledge. You are welcome. No, begin with special education director if not getting anywhere with your request. My daughter's IEP in February. I have a spectacular team at my daughter's school. That is fantastic. Thank you for advocating. Love all my kids in the SPED classroom. They are the reason I stay. Amen. How can Colorado refuse testing for dyslexia until 3rd grade? I don't know. I don't know. So here's a tip. Stop asking for dyslexia training, you guys. Stop testing. Don't ask for that. Ask for full testing in all areas to include specific learning disabilities. If you need a shark, she's your lady. My daughter's special education journey has been blessed. Oh, thank you, Esther. Same issue in my school. Do students not qualify for an IEP or 504 for dyslexia if they're 2 years behind? True. What? Oh my God. If it sounds made up, it is. Don't forget to listen to the IEP team as well. They want what's best for your child too. So the parents are the IEP team. So it's not parents and the IEP team. It's the IEP team. I think we get that confused sometime. Emailing you in the morning. A friend of mine, Amanda, said I need you. Oh, I love Amanda. Love Corbin. New SPED teacher here. Best advice for new SPED teacher. Same advice. Student focused. Student focused. I am still in Texas. I ended up pulling mine to homeschool. It's so bad. Can an ARD IEP students opt out of the STAR test? I don't know. I don't know. I would love to tell you that I did know. Yes, I love it when you're live. I love it when I'm live too. My son's teacher denied being at the IEP. Won't give date. Principal won't respond. That's when I would loop in the superintendent. My kid's principal has been letting him be on YouTube to keep him from eloping. Whoo! Yeah. First year SPED teacher here of 113 students on my caseload, doing my best, feel like a failure. Thank you for loving those kiddos. I need a one-on-one aid for my 13-year-old, but keep being told we can't do that in our district. So then I would file. I would file for due process. Parents have a right to access your child's records. More info on dyslexia, please. I love what you do. So I think dyslexia is the current sexy word in special education. Listen to me. It's very rare that your kiddo has dyslexia and that's it. Almost always for the kiddos that I serve, and I've served a couple of them over the last 24 years, if there's dyslexia there, there's going to be an SLD and there very possibly might be ADHD and attentive. So you kind of get, it's kind of an Achilles heel to ask for a dyslexia evaluation. So I always ask for a full cognitive evaluation to include all 7 Gs and formal achievement. My son has been on first grade level for 3 years. Yeah. Just send us an email, admin@specialeducationacademy.com. We'd be happy to see if we can help you. I have a student with ED, but we don't have an ES classroom. Is that legal? I You have to have a setting where you can properly serve him. Let's see. Do you think kids should be included in the meetings? I think that's very good English. That's very much a personal decision. I don't recommend that my kiddos are in special ed meetings. Oh, good for you. Self-advocacy. Are you doing all their... I am in all IEPs and services. My child keeps getting hurt by another classmate. What can I do? You can ask that your child be put in a safe environment. YouTube kid, his teacher is triggering him. He has ADHD tested for ASD, SPED, IEP right next week. SPED team is on a total skeleton crew. Now I'm Gen Ed, but I see their struggle. What about a mom who refused to have their child evaluated? It's tough. Lessons with a homebound teacher, and we'd say we have to allow her positive in our home. Yeah. So listen, you guys, if there's anything you need, let us know. We have in Special Education Academy, it's $47 a month. Stay as long as you want. Leave when you want. There's no commitment. There's over 100 hours in trainings online. We have resources. We have weekly workbooks. And it's just amazing that all of these parents and school-based members who are on the same team, we all love kiddos, are partnering together to make each other even more successful. And it's just been such a valuable resource. There's probably 100 hours in the Academy, so avail yourself of that. That's just specialeducationacademy.com. And remember, we get it right for the child. We get it right for everybody. We'll see you guys in the next video.